These hot cross buns are a chocolatey twist on an Easter favourite. They're easy to make and delicious to eat. So come on, let's get cooking. Hello memory makers and welcome back to our kitchen, and if you're new here, I'm Ashley and welcome to Meals Make Memories, where I share with you the recipes from my kitchen to help you make memories that matter in yours. So hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss it. So today you're going to need some bread flour, cocoa powder, 1 sachet of yeast, some caster sugar, some spices for the dough including nutmeg, cinnamon and a little bit of salt, some unsalted butter. For the crosses, you'll need some plain flour and water, only a few tablespoons. You'll also need some milk, as well as 1 beaten egg. Now, all of the ingredients can be found in the description box. Now, the first step is to boil the milk. Now, I would suggest just stirring it continuously so you don't get any burning bits at the bottom. And once it looks a bit like this, just simmering away, you can remove it from the heat and add in the butter. And you'll mix that together until everything is melted and you have a perfect milky, buttery liquid. Pour it into a container, preferably a jug, and then just leave it to one side to cool. And we'll come back to that later. So our next step is to prepare our dough, and we're just going to sift some cocoa powder into our flour. Now I can't stand continuously shaking the sieve, so I just take a little fork or the back of a spoon and just grind it through the sieve, and it just works a lot quicker. After that you can add your yeast, and then you're just going to want to mix everything together to ensure that the yeast is well dispersed throughout the mixture. And once that's done, you can just make a nice little hole or a well in the center using your fork so that when we pour in the cooled liquid, we can just start to fold in everything and create that beautiful dough. Now we're going to shift back to our butter and milk mixture because while it's a little bit warm, we can still add in the sugar and our spices so that we get a nicely infused liquid that's ready to pour into our flour mix. And we're just going to whisk or mix all of that together until we know that our sugar has fully dissolved. Now this part is completely optional, but if you have a favourite flavoured essence, you could add it in here. Now I really love vanilla and I really love this new salted caramel flavoured essence. So I'm adding 1 teaspoon of each of those to this mixture. But I suppose you could just be as creative as you want. Orange flavoured, lemon, perhaps even almond. Now we're also going to add to the mix the beaten egg from before. And this is why it's important that your milk and your butter is not hot, because we don't want the egg to cook, we just want it to blend together. Once your liquid is cool enough, you can start to add it to your flour mixture. So you just pour a little bit into the center of that well. And the process is to use your spoon or whatever utensil to fold into the liquid. And you keep repeating that until all of the liquid has been fully mixed in. If you're not sure what your final mixture should look like, keep watching to see the final result. And for more baking recipes and for tips for cooking with yeast, don't forget to subscribe because there will be loads more videos coming your way. And here you have it. This is what your rough dough should look like before we start the kneading process. And kneading itself is really simple. In fact, it's actually quite relaxing because any kind of frustrations you have, you can really just take it out on that dough. Or you can just use a standing mixer to make your process a lot more simple. But as I said, there's definitely something satisfying about kneading that dough by hand. So the technique is to stretch the dough with the heel of your hand and then fold it back in on itself and repeat that process until the dough becomes elastic. Now you'll have to keep doing this for a few minutes at least, but what we don't want to happen is the dough breaking apart really easily, because this is a sign that it's not ready yet. So continue to knead until you get a consistency that's a little bit more like this. It's a lot more spongy and elastic, and it retains your fingerprint if you try to leave an indent in there. Once you've got the right texture, we're just going to leave that to rise or proof. So you'll want to coat it in a little bit of oil, preferably something that's light like sunflower oil, rapeseed oil, rather than your olive oils. Do the same with the bowl, and then you're going to cover it with cling film. Now the key is to leave it in a warm place to rise. Sometimes I've put it in the top shelf of my oven when it's off. Sometimes I've even left it after the dryer has run. Alternatively, the airing cupboard is a really great place to put it. Now after your dough has risen, it should have at least doubled in size. And then we can start the process of shaping the dough into our buns. So lightly flour the surface of your table or whatever you're using. And you just want to flatten the dough out a little bit. Now be careful not to over flour, because this could make your buns really dry. And here is where we add the chocolate. Now I've used chocolate chunks, a mixture of milk and dark, but you can add whatever flavours you want. And you can just spread them around and lightly flatten them in, and that will help to embed them in the dough before we knead them in. I find that folding the dough into the centre keeps everything in the middle and stops little bits of chocolate popping out from the sides. And your final result would be something a bit like this. For the buns, we want to make sure that they are at least roughly equal in size. So we're just going to cut the dough into equal segments, and then we can take each one and roll them into a ball to form little dough balls that will eventually cook and become our hot cross buns. Now I had some Terry's chocolate oranges laying around, so I thought I would be a bit experimental and add one segment to the middle. Now even if you don't have Terry's chocolate orange, you can use any baking, cooking chocolate that you have and just put a little segment in the center. Form your ball around that, and hopefully when it cooks you'll end up with a lovely melt in the middle. Arrange on a lined baking tray, cover and leave to proof again for 45 minutes. And you should find that the dough has risen again. Now if you need to remold them because chocolate is poking out, go ahead and do that. The last step before we actually put these in the oven is to make the crosses. Now you just need a few tablespoons of plain flour mixed with some water, and it's only enough water to form a nice paste. If your mixture is too runny, you can add some more flour, because we don't want it just running all over the hot cross buns. So something smooth and thick similar to this should do the job. Then you can pour it into a piping bag, or if you have a sandwich bag and you cut off the corner, that can also act as a piping bag as well. And you just want to draw the crosses on each bun. Now it doesn't matter if they're a little bit messy, they will cook just as well. And after 20 minutes in the oven at 180 degrees, you should end up with something like this. You can glaze with honey or even a bit of apricot jam, as I've done. And here is the final product: hot, fresh and chocolatey hot cross buns. Now if you like this video, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I would love to hear in the comments how yours came out. Join us for the next one. Thanks for watching.